with increasing usage of smartphones and apps that are offering capabilities that you currently offer, they pose a threat and that are replacing the product that you offer. And so there's high competition in the industry that you're operating. Now with that, because of that consumer trend towards using these apps as well as smartphones, you are also incurring high inventory costs. And this is because you're unable to sell those products that you currently offer. However, both of these issues directly stem from the primary issue, which is how to position your organization for a long-term sustainable future. So we here at Prestige Solutions have 3 pillars that guide us as we bring to our clients the best solution possible. We begin by looking inwards. We look to those traditions and those authentic systems that have brought you success time and time again, and we hope to help you build on your strengths. Second, we look outward. We look to those evolving markets and changes in consumer preferences and new opportunities that have come up. And I want to help you innovate strategies that adapt to those changes as well as tap into those opportunities. And lastly, we look to the future. We want your organization to be viable and stable and have a long-term sustainable future. So with that, our recommendation today will result in reducing operating expenses by 5% over the next 5 years. Now this is huge as this directly translates to your overall profitability. Second, we look to diversify your market segment as well as increase revenue by $1 billion by the end of the 5th year. So in order to get a better understanding of what the next step for your organization is, we conduct an analysis. So looking internally, some of the strengths that we have identified is the quality manufacturing. Now you currently produce all of your products in-house and you are able to maintain control and know exactly what goes into your product as well as can uphold those standards by producing everything in-house. Now along with that, you're also able to provide quality service. Now because you know exactly what goes into your product, you're able to provide that excellent customer service and respond to your consumers. And lastly, talent and knowledge management. Now, because you do operate both in the US as well as Asia, Taiwan specifically, you are operating across borders. And so you're able to integrate and use those different skill sets and knowledge and talent within your organization. Now, with some strengths do come some concerns. And the first is brand recognition. Now, your initial target market is slowly aging. And so the new generation that are using these smartphones as well as apps, they don't associate the same value to your product as that generation that initially bought your products. Now with that, we have also identified your low research and development budget as well as your marketing budget. You do not invest that much within these 2 areas. So looking at the external environment, we have identified some opportunities for your organization to tap into. And the first, and these opportunities are the ones that brought you to the crossroads of where you are. And the first being the aircraft manufacturing industry, as well as strategic partnerships that could position your organization into the long-term future. And lastly, possible partnerships with government and military, so looking at marine. Now with opportunities, they do come some threats, and we will be addressing that through our implementation plan. The first being smartphones, as I had mentioned earlier, as well as the low product life cycle. Now, because you are operating in this tech industry, you are nearing that end of that life cycle.
First of all, I just must commemorate your organization for continuing to be the technology giant that you are. Organizations such as BlackBerry and Nokia have somewhat fallen down the wayside. However, Garmin remains to be an industry leader as it is. And obviously, our passion at Prestige Solutions is to provide you with the most effective long-term strategy that you can impose in order to remain profitable, reduce expenses, and ultimately look towards the future in order to empower your beginning. So we've outlined three key strategies for you to move forward with. The first one is to outsource your production. You made this point to us earlier. The second would be to phase out your consumer product line, or personal consumer product line. And the third to be the Delta strategy, so the change in strategy. So beginning first with outsourcing production. You had made clear to us that you've identified an opportunity to reduce expenses by outsourcing your manufacturing. As my colleague Rhea had mentioned, this is a competitive advantage for you because you have those communication lines between your Taiwanese and your American manufacturing plants, and you can somewhat bounce ideas off each other in order to maintain low product cost and maximize your efficiency. Ultimately, the key advantage would be cost effectiveness to phasing out or to outsourcing production. So you'll be able to see an immediate reduction in costs of approximately 10 to 20%. And then utilization efficiencies, you also made it clear to us that 65% is the average utilization for your plants as it stands right now. So ultimately, if you were to outsource your production, however, you wouldn't have to take on those extra costs of the downtime. The challenges, as I just mentioned, however, being your quality concern. So you lose control of your manufacturing plants. You're putting the power in the hands of someone else, however reputable or quality of the manufacturer might be. You lose control of your plants. You lose control of what makes your product extremely valuable in the eyes of the consumer, which is that it's manufactured and controlled by you. The second alternative that we've determined would be to phase out your personal consumer product line. This would be your personal GPS units that you would hook up to your car, that you would use for the fitness and for the marine and for the aircraft industry. So what this would look like would be to shift your focus into somewhat of a commercial standpoint. So looking to phase out your personal products and looking to go into a straight business-to-business selling strategy. However, this advantage obviously is that you're focusing on growing segments, whereas we've done some trend analysis and noticed that your personal automotive product lines have begun to experience difficulties in terms of challenges such as competition that they're facing. The challenge to this, however, is that it's a bit of a risky strategy to take on because of the fact that you're switching completely from business to consumer to business to business. No matter how you would like to phase it out, it is a risky strategy because it's what's made you successful all along. And of course, it ignores the large marketplace, which is the personal consumers who would be looking to purchase your products. And the third strategy that we have is the Delta strategy, essentially, which is the Greek letter for change. So to change your strategy. Your advantage, obviously, is that you're maintaining your competitive advantage. You're maintaining your core competencies and your strengths, which is made you successful all along. You're going to look to diversify your market by tapping into the commercial segment as well as the personal segment. And this will ultimately increase your efficiency in terms of product diversification, as well as being able to reduce your expenses in your plant as a result of diversifying your product line and then ultimately reducing inventory costs. The challenge is, however, customer adoption. So this would be in terms of the customers that you would be attaining would be businesses, and so it can be difficult to tap into this market, whereas you have been so successful dealing with personal consumers. Business consumers has a very different sales strategy. And then your high initial investment in terms of research and development costs, as well as hiring this sales strategy to essentially push your new commercial products along. So the decision criteria that we've outlined for strategy for you moving forward, the first being that you need to align with your customers' preferences. So ultimately what that means is your top line revenue. So we have a target here of $1 billion in sales by the end of the 5th year. Your revenue is currently increasing, and so we feel that as large of an organization as you are, this is not an unattainable target. And then cost effectiveness. As my colleague Rhea had mentioned, your organization's manufacturing plants are currently being underutilized, as well as experiencing increasing manufacturing costs. And then something that builds on your strength. So something that builds on what has made you successful all along. So as you can see from our decision matrix, our changing strategy to pursue not only personal and personal consumer products, but also bridging the gap into the commercial market. expenses in product lines that may not be effective anymore or may be becoming obsolete. So this will give you an opportunity to start reallocating your resources appropriately, going from products that, as I mentioned, could becoming obsolete, and then changing into investments into an industry that's actually growing. So as I mentioned, as hitting on all three of our decision criteria, our Delta strategy will allow you to reallocate your resources appropriately in order to invest in what is a sustainable product moving forward and sustainable industry, which is the commercial business-to-business industry, rather than focusing solely on consumer products such as wearables, GPS units that you would put in your car, in order to diversify your market and mitigate the risk of having a downturn and mitigate the risk of the increase in competition that you have. So before I get into how to implement this plan, I'd like to start with what we project the cost to be. The approximate cost of R&D over the next 5 years, we feel $500 million is not off target. Allowing also for $50 million to initiate all your Salesforce contacts and the adjustment and how to market these plans is also quite reasonable within current numbers in your income statements already that we received from you. In the initial term, in the first year, it's important that you can be on target with the other group, the other people who are making these GPS applications for smartphones, in order to capture that market. This isn't so much for income as it is important to get your name out there. Reaching the younger generation, the people who didn't previously see Garmin 10 years ago as that industry leader in GPS technologies, reaching these people through smartphones and through an application which can not only be a GPS on its own, but also connect to your other devices, is an important step to bridge the gap. Sourcing your R&D, you have previous talent that's working on these automated GPS units that people put in their cars. Taking people from this R&D application, which is going downhill right now, your sales in this area has been declining over the past couple of years. Taking these people and refocusing them is key in order to ensure long-term success. You should finish up your current R&D on these products and implement your last few products in these lines, and let consumers know that you will be gradually phasing this out over the next few years. Making sure that you have the right people for the job in order to have your business-to-business sales is going to be another important step to ensure success. You'll have to make sure that you take your best salespeople, as these sales will be higher margin and bigger sales than any business-to-consumer sales have ever been. And also, lastly but not least, implementing a better inventory control system is important. Some of your inventory numbers have been alarmingly high at year's end in the past, and we feel that this is an expense, seeing as how the technology, the product life cycle is so short these days. Having that inventory at the end of the year can be a sunk cost, as when you come up with your new units, these units will stop selling. So as you can see, that checks off the first part of our list in lowering your inventory costs. So it's going to be important to secure contracts with key automotive manufacturers, such as GM in the United States or Ford. Volkswagen is a very key European automotive manufacturer, as they also own many other European automotive manufacturers. And in Japan, Toyota, Subaru, and other manufacturers are important ones, as these are the organizations that can be very successful in selling their cars, and having their GPS technology in those cars will ensure a successful future. It's also seen that selling the actual data of where these GPS systems go and how the people using these technologies, where they go and what they do, can be an important sales technique in order to sell to other businesses. This data is important, as it lets businesses know where they should focus their marketing strategies. Collecting user feedback is very important in the technology industry. What competitions have failed to do, such as Nokia and BlackBerry, as Mike had mentioned, is they forget to listen to the customer. The customer needs and wants are not always that which the business wants to give them. They have different needs and wants, and some businesses forget to listen to them in actually implementing new strategies and new research in their future products. Increasing tech competition in this industry. It is with the increasing competition, it's important to diversify your product styles in order to capture new markets as they arise and beat the competition to it. Implementing user feedback and putting that information into your research and development is going to be a key in your success, as listening to those customers and doing what they need and having the product as they want it is going to make sure that your product is the one that sells the best. Having this increased investing in R&D is another really important facet. Because you're a tech company and the product lifecycle is so short, the more money you put into R&D, the better your products will be and the more they can cater to the consumer demands. This again ensures increase of sales and better profitability for your organization. In the year 4 to 5, we think that it's a good time to start phasing out those personal automotive GPS technologies. At this time, the sales in these streams will be so low that they really won't be a very profitable technology for your company anymore. So it's really important that you just stop manufacturing them altogether and you can have your focus set on the more profitable technologies that you make. So this will ensure a long-term future for your organization. Changing your research and development and making new products that will be put into the automotive vehicles by the manufacturers instead of the consumers will ensure a long-term future. The reason we feel that this is a better way to go rather than to sell directly to the consumer is because you can make massive sales on these levels, as well as the current systems that are in these cars are not seen as very high quality. Most people would rather use their smartphone. However, because that's illegal, if the cars had a good system in them, they would be more inclined to use the vehicle's GPS system. The manufacturers of the cars these days really need help in this segment because most people don't like the current GPS systems that they have. So in the future, it's important to become the industry standard for the GPS systems in cars. Be the best and make everyone follow you.
So with our recommendation plan, we have identified some risks that your organization might face. So the first is trade tariffs. Now with the new Trump government, protectionist policies are being proposed. And what that means is those operations that have been outsourced, they're looking to bring them back into the U.S. Now the mitigation strategy for this lays within the implementation plan, which is to continue operations in the U.S. And those operations in Taiwan that sell directly to other countries, those will not be affected with this risk, with the trade tariffs proposed. Another major risk that you may face is the lack of commercial sales. So this does not bring the fruit that you are looking for. And so the mitigation strategy for that is to continue to grow in the fitness, aviation, and marine industries. Now you have positioned yourself well in these three areas, and our research and analysis indicates that these industries and areas are growing. So in summary, we recommend that you pursue the Delta strategy. And with that, I'd like to open the floor to questions.
Your strategy for the marine aviation market, you say continue to grow. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what
having the opportunity to work with these types of industries like aviation, perhaps the military as well, getting these government contracts will give you an opportunity to mitigate the risk of having falling on the wayside, like products like BlackBerry and Nokia and RV. So giving an opportunity to just diversify your market is the key going forward.
I have some concerns with your suggestion to sell data that you are going to be receiving from the consumers who are using the product. I'm just wondering what was the strategy in suggesting that, considering privacy laws and other things that might be in place?
So most of the strategy around selling the data is not to sell impersonal information, more or less just sell the GPS information, where people are going, what areas. In cities, when people are looking to make investments in new infrastructure, such as roads, you can sell some of the technology. The information you get from the cars, which roads are having street blocks, because the GPS will obviously know that certain cars are being blocked in certain roads when a lot of vehicles are piled up there. So cities can buy that information from you to help find out where they should put more infrastructure and more investment, or businesses where they want to build new restaurants where the high traffic areas are. So this is really not a personal information, but just a generalized where people are going to be and at what times they're there.
And just in addition to that, for example, if the car is a Jeep and the consumer is traveling into mountainous terrains, then those that are selling the Jeep can identify, oh, well, maybe we can tailor this car to fit those terrains that the consumer is most likely to travel to, and tailor it in that way.
Can you just clarify really quickly your strategy towards consumer wearables and where you're going to go with that?
So the consumer wearables, what we've seen is that the fitness industry is growing massively. What your organization needs to do is to continue investing into those types of industries, the growing trends. However, start pulling back from the trends that are decreasing, such as personal GPS units in your vehicle. And so the strategy behind having your fitness technology is that you are beginning to differentiate yourself in that industry, which is amazing. However, the risk lies with selling to consumers solely, and so the risk diversification comes from reaching out into the business market by implementing your systems into these cars at the manufacturer